Hey guys, welcome to Let's Talk. This is the show where we talk about sports and music. And today it's the good, the bad, and the ugly of Major League Baseball as they head into their All-Star break. To join me today, I've got, of course, the one and only, the one, the only, the myth, the legend, JaguarGator9. Hey man, how are you doing today?
I am doing all right. Notice it's a different location just with my parents for a bit, but I'm going back to the regular studio in Phoenix tomorrow. So just making this work with this bizarre setup. I got my computer, my keyboard's literally on my lap right now. It's just a complete makeshift setup, but we're making it work. We're making it work.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, you got to go on a cruise, so we won't talk about that. If you want to know more about that, watch his live streams over the past few days. He talks a lot about it. But something I know you've been keeping an eye on is the Euro Cup and the Copa Cup, both going on at the same time, both with their semifinals this week. What's going on in these national matchups, and are you surprised by some of the results?
Yeah, so Spain just made it to the finals. Spain just won earlier today 2-1. They played phenomenal this entire tournament. They've looked world class. I think they set their country record for most goals in the European Championships so far. The big surprise for me has to be England because on one hand they've looked terrible. On one hand, England has looked absolutely dire. They look like they have no plan whatsoever. Southgate is completely out of his element. They have a lot of talent. They're being completely mismanaged. On the other hand, they're in the semifinals. Somehow they're in the semifinals. I don't know how they were able to win that round of 16 game. I have no clue how that bicycle kick by Bellingham went in at the very end. And then winning on a PK shootout, which they never do in the quarterfinals. England, I don't know how they're in this spot, but it's shocking to me that how bad they played. They are still in the semifinals. And then on the Copa side, Colombia, they were my pick to win it from the start. They look like the best team. Canada's been a massive shock in all the right ways. They were in a bit of turmoil after the 2022 World Cup, that exit. They got Jesse Marsh in there. He's looked really good as manager. He's got that team playing very well. They play Argentina tonight. We'll see how that game goes. I'm not expecting much. I think Colombia-Argentina is going to be the final, but Canada should be very, very impressed and very proud of them or their performance. They are going to make some noise in 2026 when they host the World Cup.
On the European side, are you surprised at the lack of play that Germany had this year? I didn't really see much out of Germany when it came to the intensity that you're used to seeing from them.
Yeah, I mean, they got a rough draw in the quarterfinals. They did get a rough draw, but they haven't played the best since the 2014 World Cup. Since 2014, it's kind of been downhill for Germany. And they're kind of like in limbo right now. So I wasn't too surprised with their quarterfinal exit. I think the only team that really shocked me in terms of their exit and how early they exit was probably Croatia. I did not expect Croatia to go that early.
Yeah. And on the Copa side, U.S. not even making the quarterfinals.
Yeah, US needs a complete overhaul. Bearholder needs to go. There's just a whole culture problem. Everyone's too complacent. Everyone is way too complacent. Tim Weah should never suit up for the USA again after that red card. He should never suit up again. And the thing with the USA is that you can tell a lot about the culture of a team based on how they answer questions. If there's a common theme, and the common theme is that we tried our best. Not good enough. Not good enough. Not when you're the US. Not when you lose to Panama. Not when you win one game out of 3 and look terrible while doing it. Not when you can't muster up any goals in a must-win game against Uruguay. Like, it's not good enough. The whole team needs an overhaul, and I'm not feeling confident about the USA. I feel like we've gone backwards since 2017 when we didn't make the World Cup. I feel like we've actually gone backwards.
Yeah. Well, you said your predictions for the finals. We know Spain's in. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be Netherlands or England?
England can't keep getting away with this. They can't keep getting away with this. I'm going to go Netherlands. I think Spain wins it all. Spain, Netherlands, Spain wins it all. And then Copa, my pick of the start was Colombia beating Argentina. I'm sticking with that. I see no reason to change it.
Yeah. So easy recap real quick of the tournaments going on. Is this going to be kind of our lead in to the Olympics? Can we expect this type of play with the Olympic teams?
Olympics are a bit different. Olympics are different in the sense that none of these guys that are playing in the Euros and Copa are going to play in the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
Olympics, you're restricted to just players under 23 years old. You're allowed 3
It's the
exceptions.
U23, yeah.
Yeah, it's U23. So it's very, very different.
What are your picks for the Olympics? Who's making the quarterfinals?
It's tough in the Olympics. I don't really know the U23 teams that well. I know the USA. I have no faith in the USA. I think their roster selection was all wrong. There was that great striker in Real Salt Lake that helped get them to the Olympics, has having a great season in MLS, and they didn't put him on the roster. So riddle me that one. I have no faith in the USA whatsoever.
On the men's or the women's side?
Oh no, women's side is different. Women's side is you play your regular team. Women's side, you play the regular teams. So on the women's side, I really like our manager. I like Hughes a lot. I think we've made great strides since the World Cup exit. I like Hughes as manager. She was one of the top candidates on my list, and I like what she did in England, and I really like the hire so far. Teams played very solid under her as of late. I like the Olympic roster selection. I like Alex Morgan not being on the team. It's a good changing of the guard, which we needed. I think the USA can win the Olympic gold. The men's side, I have no faith in them to get out of the group stage. I think France will win the men's side. On the women's side, I could definitely see the USA winning the Olympic gold.
Yeah. Also on the Olympics, I know your focus is soccer and some of the other and volleyball and some of the other team sports. Just because I grew up dealing with this, the fact that we've got a Olympic gold medalist coming back for yet another run at gymnastics. Do you think this gymnastics team is going to make waves when they hit the Olympics this year?
I feel like they always do. I mean, right now it's Biles and everyone else. In terms
right,
of
exactly.
Right now, Biles, she had an incredible Olympics in 2016. She was incredible. And then obviously 2020, obviously there was the whole yips thing that happened.
Right.
And she still bounced back and performed all right. She's somehow reaching her prime now. You never see an Olympic athlete, a gymnast, reach their prime in their third Olympics. Usually you get 2 cycles and that's it. So the fact she's reached her prime now, yeah. If you're really good to get to. If you're really good to get to. Like the fact that she's reaching her prime now, she's doing stuff that I've never seen any gymnast do in terms of reaching her prime well into her career.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of speculation if this is going to be her last one or if she's going to try again in 4 years. So we'll see. Now to the meat of this show today. The MLB is going into their All-Star break, and we're going to look at the first half of the season, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly of this season. All right, so let's start off with the good. In the AL, you have the Orioles, Yankees, Guardians, and Twins, all above 50 wins. Of the Royals, Astros, and Mariners, and Red Sox, who do you think is going to give those first 4 teams a run for their money?
Well, I think anyone with a pulse right now could beat the Yankees. I think they've been playing garbage lately. I think they're 5-16 their last 21 games. They've not played well. The team right now, I gotta be honest, it's got to be the Astros. It's got to be the Astros. They were looking like one of the worst teams in baseball. They've been playing at like 110 win pace over the last 2 months. They've had the best record in baseball over the last 2 months. I think they went from somewhere like 17 games under 500 to where they are now. I think they're going to win the AL West, especially because the Mariners have no offense. The Mariners have no offense to speak of right now. Josh Rojas might be their best offensive player, which as a D-backs fan, that's saying a lot. When Josh Rojas is your best offensive player, that is saying a lot. You got a lot of players that are just not hitting the ball right now on the Mariners. I think the Astros are looking right now. I honestly because the Orioles don't have starting pitching. The Yankees are struggling. I don't trust the AL Central. I just can't. Right now, I'm not sure there's any team in the American League I would take over the Astros right now. As crazy as it sounds based on how they started the season.
Let's jump to the NL. Over 50, you got the Phillies, Braves, Brewers, and Dodgers. Mets, Cardinals, Padres are right on their heels. Who's your favorite out of these? Who's doing the best out of these?
Out of the four, the Phillies, but in terms of the Mets, Cardinals, Padres, the Cardinals, I feel like their starting pitching is a fluke. I feel like the arms have to give out at some point. I mean, I'm shocked with how well the Cardinals are playing because they basically went into free agency and just signed every starting pitcher with an arm over the age of 35. It's somehow working. The Padres are going to be fine. The Padres are playing good baseball. They'll be fine. The bullpen's kind of struggling as of late, but I trust their roster. The Mets, every time they get to the hump, they can never quite get over. I don't trust the bullpen with the Mets. You can't really trust the Mets, not with that roster right now, especially because Pete Alonso's not playing good ball. McNeil's been struggling. I think the Mets are kind of a fluke. Padres are going to be fine. Cardinals, I'm a bit iffy on. The one that's interesting is the Diamondbacks, just because they're right at 500, and every starting pitcher they've had has gone on the IL at some point. Like, their whole rotation's dead. They've had a crappy hand dealt to them, and they're still one game under 500. They're not far off the pace.
Yeah.
And they have a relatively easy schedule. They took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, took 2 out of 3 from Padres. They've led going into the 9th inning in each of their last 10 games. Paul Sewald's just having a rough stretch. I don't know what's happened with Sewald. He was like the best closer in baseball. He's blown his last 3 saves. But I don't count out the D-backs. I'll say that much. Don't count out Arizona once that pitching staff gets healthy, once that starting rotation gets healthy. Like what they're doing right now, they're basically working with a bunch of AAA guys starting every game. And
relying on their on the hitting to make it through the games.
Pretty much. Like they're guys that have no business being in the majors. They're starting games because everyone's hurt. Everyone's hurt, but we're going to get everyone back soon.
So of everybody above 500 right now, who do you see making a run in the next month and a half and really solidifying their spot for the playoffs?
Well, I think right now, based on the lead they have, I mean, the Dodgers are in based on the lead they have, but based on just what I've seen, I think the most complete team in baseball right now is the Phillies. I think right now for the Phillies, it's World Series or bust. And I know them
losing to the Rangers last year in the playoffs, I think really surprised a lot of people because honestly, I think they're picking up right where they left off last year. Yeah.
I know Phillies going to be fine. I know they've had some struggles on the road, but there's not another team in baseball right now I'm taking over the Phillies.
Yeah. Now into the bad. Now, we do have some downright uglies, and we'll get to those in a minute. But teams such as the Rays, Blue Jays, Tigers, Rangers, Angels in the AL, Nationals, Pirates, Reds, Diamondbacks, and Giants, all these guys are below 500, but I don't feel like their records really tell the whole story, especially like you said with the D-backs. They're pitching AAA guys. What other teams do you see that the record's not really matching play on the field?
I'd say the Nationals. I think a lot of people expect them to be a 100-loss team. I never saw that. I thought they were going to win 75 this year. The Nats have a good young core. I think they did a really good job bolstering the farm. They did a great job in the Soto trade. You're seeing them benefit from it now this year. Guys like Abrams are playing lights out. I think also there's a lot to like with the Pirates. I know they're below 500, but the big thing with the Pirates, you got Paul Skeens. You got maybe the best pitcher in baseball right now in the National League. Skubal in the AL for the Tigers. I think it's the best pitcher in baseball. But Paul Skeens is playing lights out right now. I think you have to be pleased if you're a Pirates fan just with you got the number 1 overall pick, and he's already looking like a Cy Young candidate, like not even a year after you drafted him.
Which of these teams do you see could, let's say in the next 2 to 4 weeks, really destroy their chances at even making the playoffs, even having a hint at the playoffs?
Destroy their chances?
With the way they've been playing this past month.
Yeah, I'm not sure in the NL there's any, but in the AL, the gap is growing between the haves and the have-nots, and I think the Rangers and the Angels are other. I mean, I don't think the Angels have a chance. The Angels, I put them in the ugly category. I wouldn't even put them in the bad category. The
Yeah.
Angels are on their less legs, and the Rangers, I'm disappointed with the Rangers this year. I did not see that regression coming in the slate.
Do you think that the Rangers can turn it around after the All-Star break like they've done in the past?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. The problem is that right now they're they're a bit below 500. They're like
Right.
10 below 500, something like that. And in the NL, you might be okay because in the NL, there's not really a lot of separation, but the gap is growing in the AL. The gap is completely growing because the Yankees, Orioles, one of them is going to win the division, one of them is going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Central, you got the Guardians, the Twins. I think the Royals are faltering, but one of those teams, Guardians or Twins, is going to make the playoffs. The Red Sox are playing lights out. The Astros are playing lights out. They've got a wild card right now. I think the gap is growing. It might be
I
too
mean,
little.
you're talking Rangers right now are 5.5 games back of the Mariners, and I don't think the Mariners are going to hold on to their 2-game lead once we come back from the break. And I think you're right. The Astros are going to be the team to beat in the West, and the Rangers may squeak it by if the Mariners completely destroy themselves.
Yeah,
But
right.
they're gonna have to play better than they are. Being 43 and 48 right now is just not gonna cut it when it comes to end of season.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the ugly. And I only got 3 teams for this. The 3 teams we haven't talked about: the A's, the Angels, and the White Sox. And that's the White Sox, I think, are the true definition of tank job in the MLB.
It's crazy because they were building such a good thing. They were building this was a perennial playoff team just a few years ago that looked like they had a solid young core.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the ALDS lineup they had 3 years ago, and what happened to all those guys? Like Luis Roberts, the only player that is still good that started that game. The regression has been crazy. And what's worse is that the starting pitching has been fine. Like the starting pitching has not been a problem for the White Sox. Their starting pitching is playoff caliber, dare I say it? It's everything else. It's everything else that is just not major league level.
And in the NL, Marlins and Rockies. Yeah. Which of these teams do you see finishing in the basement?
I would say because of the division they play in, I'm going to say the Rockies. The Marlins, they started 10-31. I'm not saying they're playing good baseball by any means, but they're around 500. Like the second quarter of the season, they played around 500 ball. The Rockies, I could see selling. The Marlins, I could also see selling, but I think they have a better farm, I think, than the Rockies. I don't trust anything with the Rockies.
And the Rockies, well, both the Rockies and the Marlins are kind of up and down teams depending on the season. But I think the Rockies are the ones that are expected to do better than they do half the time.
Yeah. The problem with the Rockies is that they're in such a bad division for them because the Dodgers are always going to win 100. The Giants are in it always. The Padres, they're spending money. They're in it. The D-backs just came off a World Series appearance. They were always going to be the ugly duckling. No one had the Rockies finishing higher than 5th in the division this year.
Right.
And they've lived up to expectations.
The only people seeing them win better than they are is people in Denver, right?
Yeah, even that. I don't think anyone in their right mind had them finishing higher than 5th.
Yeah. Well, of the NL and AL teams that are producing good right now, producing wins, do you see all of those top 6 teams in the leagues right as they stand right now? Are all 6 of them on both sides making this playoff if they continue playing the way they're playing?
I mean, I think the Royals are coming back down to earth. I don't think the Royals make it. I don't think the Mariners make it anymore. Their offense, I just have not seen anything with the offense lately. On the NL side, I am not sold on the Cardinals. I'm just not. That starting pitching is just concerning to me.
Yeah,
it's gonna.
I know it
wheels gonna come
pains you
off.
to say that.
Yeah, I can't see it happening though. I can't see it happening.
So let's talk about the actual All-Star weekend. We got 5 days of stuff going on in the Arlington, Fort Worth area for the All-Star weekend. It all kicks off on Friday with the HBCU game. This is a game for D1, traditionally black colleges, athletes. And it's going to be on the MLB Network at 8 Eastern. Are you watching this game? And if you are, what are you watching for this in this game?
For that game in particular, like I gotta be honest, I don't watch a whole lot of All-Star Weekend outside of the Home Run Derby and the actual game itself. I don't watch a whole lot with that.
Right.
That Friday, I'll be at the Diamondback Stadium because they'll be playing the Blue Jays for.
So you're going to you'll catch the highlights.
I'll catch the highlights. Yeah, I'm going to catch the highlights. Yeah. Same thing with Futures game. Like I'm excited for the Futures game to see Adrian Del Castillo, who I think is going to be a very good player in the majors. He's killing in Reno right now. But the games themselves, like the festivities over the weekend, I'm usually just watching like the actual baseball that's taking place like for the regular season.
What do you think of them doing the skills challenge showcase for the Futures game this year?
I like it. I hope they do a bunt challenge. Like they did. I don't think they are, but the bunt challenge they have in Japan. I don't know if you've ever seen like the Japanese All-Star game or what they do in Korea, where they have they have targets all over the field. You have to bunt the ball into the target. It's so cool. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah,
I don't know why they don't do that in baseball, in Major League Baseball.
And of course, celebrity softball, part of this as well. Legends and celebrities getting to play a little softball. This should just be a lot of fun to watch, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That game's always fun. Just seeing like random
I always remember that game is a lot of trash talking.
A lot of guys whiffing at balls and then like running the bases and like jogging around. It's like when you get like the actual athletes in there, they just belt it over the cones. It's hysterical.
Now this is the 4th time they've done this during the All-Star weekend. The MLB draft is starting on Sunday and will run through Tuesday. What are you going to be watching as far as the draft goes?
Well, I'm glad they made the change. For the draft, because how it was before where they were drafting in the middle of games made no sense to me. This always felt like a natural thing to do, to have it in the middle of All-Star break. Always felt like a natural thing. The guy I'm interested in as a Florida fan, it's Jack. It's Jack Caglione. It's by far. I want to see where he goes. He should be, for my money, I think he's the best player in this draft. I don't think it's projected to go number 1, but I really want to see where Jack goes. I'm rooting for the guy. Just maybe the best player in Florida history.
Right. And, it does make sense to do the draft now when there's no college baseball going on. We know how the season ended. We don't know what the new season is going to bring. And it makes sense for these guys to get drafted now instead of the original time slot they had.
Yeah.
Home Run Derby, who on Monday night, ESPN's broadcasting it. Who's your favorite?
It's weird because they haven't even announced the whole field yet. They still are trying to find guys. I guess by default, it's got to be Pete Alonso. I know he's not having the best season. I know he should not have probably been in the All-Star game. I think Lindor should have gotten the Mets spot. I think Christian Walker got robbed. But I think that you have to go with Alonso. You can't bet against Pete Alonso based on his past performance in this competition. Yeah.
Unless they bring in somebody unexpected, I think I got to go the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And then All-Star game on Fox as usual. Who's winning, AL or NL?
I mean, when in doubt, pick the American League. That seems like the theme as of late is the American League. It's usually pretty good at winning these All-Star games. So
Yeah.
I'm rooting for the NL for obvious reasons. I want to see Torey Lovullo get the win, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be the AL.
Right. Well, overall, the fact that this All-Star season is in North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington area, and they're playing in an enclosed environment. Do you think this is going to be your typical run-of-the-mill game, or is this going to be a solid exhibition game?
I mean, baseball's usually the one sport where the All-Star game is actually pretty good. And that's because you can't really fake it in baseball. You can't really go half speed in baseball with a lot of stuff.
Like we see in basketball and hockey and all the others.
Yeah, like baseball resembles an actual game. Obviously, there's some stuff that's different. A pitcher is usually only going to one inning, maybe two. But baseball, it resembles baseball.
Yeah. And obviously, baseball is less likely for injury, so they're more willing to put it out there.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I got to ask you to put your lawyer hat on for a minute because we're going to talk about a class action lawsuit involving the NFL, DirecTV, and Sunday Ticket. Perna's the one that I saw originally report on this. I've seen articles on it since then. Latest estimate that I'm seeing by AP is that they're looking at a 4.7 billion, that's billion with a B, dollar loss in this lawsuit. One, do you think that the NFL price fixed like they're being charged with? And then two, is this the right move for these bars to go after the NFL for this?
Well, the thing with the 4.7 billion is that it's really 14.1 billion. It's triple that because antitrust, everything's treble. Here's my thing with this lawsuit. Here's my thing. I don't think the NFL, for me personally, a single team package, price fixing like that, I don't even know how that would have worked. There's just too many moving parts because here's the thing. We've established before with Major League Baseball and their antitrust exemption, we've established that you have to do some stuff that's in the good of the league. You have to do some stuff that's in the good of the league. We already established for the past 60 some odd years that national TV deals are better than having each team go on their own and do local TV deals. We already established that. That was one of the first things Pete Rozelle did was I'm going to bring everything under the same umbrella and we're all going to be under one TV contract. We're not going to have each of these teams negotiating their own TV deals. And for 60 years, that was not a problem. For 60 years, that was not a problem. The thing with a single team package for Sunday Ticket is that with the way the revenue is split between the teams and the league, you're telling me that, let's say, just making up a number here, 10 million people buy the single team package for the Cowboys. 10 million people. And 300,000 people buy the single team package for the Jaguars. They're now going to get the same amount of money? Like the owners would throw a fit, and rightfully so. That would not be a good business model. Number two, how would this work in the sense of the package it's too confusing with the way it is. Because let's say I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. The Panthers have no national games this year. They have the NFL Network game, and that's it. The Germany game at 9:30 in the morning.
Right.
They have that game. Let's say I buy the package and I pay like $200 for the single team package. And with that package, I get all 16 other Panthers games. Then, remember, I bought the package in reliance on the fact that I could watch all 16 Panthers games. Then they start the season 9-0. And now all these games in the second half of the season get flexed into prime time or the national window. And now I paid $200 for 16 games, but in reality now, I'm not getting
$200 for 9 games because now
they're all flexed. And plus, on top of that, the national.
What if they did that? and this was proposed from some from what I've read. This was proposed that it was the deal. They were trying to work it similar to the Sirius XM deal, where you got your local, like if you bought, let's say the Panthers, if you bought the slate of Panthers games only, you always got the same broadcasters.
It would be
Would that
very
have worked where you're guaranteed those games that you get to see every game and you get the same broadcasters, i.e. your local broadcasters?
I don't know. Like, these press boxes don't have a lot of room. I don't know how that would have worked.
Right.
Like, you're going to have now 3 different sets of cameras, 3 different sets of sideline reporters, 3 different sets of wires going through. Like, it would
Because
not
you've got your broadcast, you've got your home, your away, and then home and away radio as well.
Yeah. Because the thing I'm thinking of is let's take a team like the Kansas City Chiefs this past year. The Kansas City Chiefs. Let's say I bought the individual package for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, keep in mind that everything with the NFL, everything with the rules, even with Sunday Ticket, is that if your game is being shown on local TV, you don't get it on Sunday Ticket. You don't get it on there. You get X amount of games. It never tells you like which games you get, but you get X amount of games. Every game that's not on local TV. So let's say I buy the individual team package for the Chiefs. I would not be able to watch a single Chiefs game with that package. I would be able to watch like one or two, because every game was on national TV or in the 425 window or the national 1 o'clock window.
Right.
And then like you have to like adjust the price point based on where you are in the country. And then what happens, like, because you can't charge $300 to watch a single team for 16 games and charge the same price for a team that if you're living in like let's say for me personally, I have Sunday Ticket.
You have to for your job though. That's a given.
But like for me with Sunday Ticket, like I buy the individual package. Let's say I'm a New York Jets fan. I live in Arizona. I want to watch the New York Jets play. And let's say midway through the season, I go back to visit my parents. And I still have Sunday Ticket, but now I have Sunday Ticket in New York.
You're local.
My local. So I'm not getting any of those games.
Yeah.
So now you're going to charge me the same. Like there's so many moving parts with this that I cannot believe the courts actually ruled in favor of the plaintiffs here, because I don't know how this would work. How is there a fair system here that would work? There are way too many moving parts that no one in their right mind could do, because it's not even like if I'm like going away and don't watch football, like that's different. You pay for the product at that point, but it's more of I'm paying for a product, and now depending on where in the country, I can't get it. But now if I pay for the Jets package in New York, like I can pay for the Jets package in New York, and it's like, okay, you're gonna get none of the games, or I pay for it like 100 miles away, so I'll get some of the games, but not all of them, and then I go out to California or Arizona or Wyoming or somewhere on the West Coast, and now I get more games at a reduced price point. Like I manipulate the system that way. I don't know how it would work, because every team's playing a different number of games on national TV, different number of games prime time, geolocations. You would have to eliminate the local restrictions and the TV restrictions, and that would never happen. It would not be good for the league,
because the networks would throw a fit.
Yeah.
I mean, the networks were kind of the ones that threw a fit in the first place with the whole Sunday Ticket concept, but it was kind of the league kind of squashed it and said, "Hey, this is good for everybody." And of course, we can all thank John Tafford for creating Sunday Ticket,
and
the concept of it.
And part of also why that was because bars were getting too good at manipulating the system, and they were getting games illegally. So it's like, we're going to make it like you could get a completely legal way to get all the games. Because you're doing it anyway, we might as well make money off of it.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that DirecTV has come out and said that the NFL set the price every year, they didn't have a say in it. Does this fall under true price fixing?
I mean, it's tough. It's a complicated matter. It's a very, very complicated matter. I mean, it is a bit weird that they never really had a chance to negotiate it. But the other thing with this is that it's a luxury. Like Sunday Ticket, it's not directly added on.
Right. It is a premium service.
Right. You buy it at that price point. It's a unilateral contract. And there's tons of examples of unilateral contracts where a company sets the price and you can either buy it or you cannot buy it. But you're not forced to buy it.
Yeah. The fact that now with it on YouTube's always putting it on sale. Does that say something about the fact that DirecTV just didn't want to take the risk of losing on it, or is this that YouTube got a better deal out of it and the NFL maybe saw some writing on the wall before or while this lawsuit was in discovery, and the league kind of changed their attitude with when they signed it with YouTube?
I think the problem is that DirecTV's service was terrible. DirecTV's service was very limited. You had to have DirecTV to do it. Now, there was like a college pass, but now YouTube, it's more accessible. You can do it anywhere in the country. Like, all you need to do is have a YouTube account, which everyone does. And if you don't, it's completely free to do it. DirecTV,
and most people know how to circumvent the whole local IP problem.
Right. And yeah, and DirecTV, you can install, like, you had to install it. You had to someone come in and install it. And if the weather was bad, you couldn't watch because of satellite. Like, it just made more sense to do it on YouTube. It did not make sense to do it through a TV carrier.
Right. Do you think that, and I know you've been a proponent against this in the past, do you see the NFL going more towards streaming in the next 5 years?
100%. 100%. I mean, we've seen that with Primus getting a playoff game. We saw Peacock get a playoff game. I think we are definitely heading in that direction. So long, and especially if we do 18 games, we go to 18 games in the near future. That's now 16 more games that are available for bidding.
Yeah.
And streaming services are going to be all in on that.
Right. And with companies like Netflix getting rights to the WWE, Warner Discovery just is trying to work out a new deal with AEW. Of course, that hits both of us a little bit because obviously that behind me, and then the owner of AEW is also a co-owner of the Jags. So, do you think? How do you see TV in the next 5 years as far as live sports go?
I think cable is dying. Over the air will still be phenomenal. Over the air, I think that will always be the new frontier. Or not the new frontier, but over the air will always be the moneymaker. But I think a lot of the TV deals that were on cable are now going to go on streaming. So we'll never see a day where the NBA stops playing games on ABC or NBC. We'll never see a day where MLB stops playing games on Fox or stuff like that. But we will see days where like these minor networks like TNT, TBS, it might be more beneficial to just put it on a streaming service.
I mean, even NASCAR's announced that they're going to Amazon next year.
Yeah, because more people have streaming services than cable at this point.
Yeah.
So it makes sense in that regard. I'm not crazy about it, but it makes sense. Over the air will never die, though. Over the air will never die.
Well, let's talk about a team that I hate, and
I think everyone knows.
And I think that you have a dislike for them as well. Let's talk about their quarterback. Dak Prescott of the Cowboys says the boots made for walking, seen over the 4th of July weekend wearing a walking boot, seen again at his youth football camp wearing a walking boot. This one I honestly think is journalists trying to get clicks, but let's go through this. Dak stated, honestly, I'm getting older. It's the same ankle that I snapped and had a nasty surgery on 4 years ago. And this was during an interview with John Makocha of the Athletic. He continued with a couple of hard days of training, and you get a little sore, and you're going on a fishing trip and you want to protect it and make sure that things don't get worse. Literally, it's absolutely nothing. Now, that was the quote.
Mm-hmm.
Should Dallas fans worry that this 31-year-old quarterback, and you always say on the wrong side of 30, is not 100%, or is this him trying to make sure he is 100% in a month?
Yeah, I would say I would not worry in the slightest bit until he steps on the field. If he still has the boot on when he's on the field, when they report to camp, different story. But right now, like, he says he's fine. He says it's precautionary. Now, the fact that some reporters said he's in a boot, but it's not a big deal, I don't know about that necessarily. I know for me personally, if I get put in a boot, that's not what I consider not a big deal.
Right.
But like, for me, not a big deal is I wake up with a headache. I need to take like some Advil and I'm okay. Not a big deal is not like I have to get a boot. But with that being said, he says he's fine. I have no reason not to trust him or take his word for it. If he says he's fine and it's precautionary, and he seemed to be moving all right, like walking around, he didn't need like a wheelchair or crutches or anything like that. Like, if he just says it's precautionary, you think it's that, and he comes onto the field fine, no issues.
Yeah, as much as I love to hate on these guys, on the Cowboys, and I usually say Cowgirls when I type it in your chat. The fact that he's having to defend himself on something that seems to be a non-issue. I mean, we're in the middle of the summer. He's got a month before he really has to start putting anything on it. And you could really say 2 months if you count preseason, because it's likely he won't play a lot of preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, if someone like Trevor Lawrence or CJ Stroud showed up at a party over the 4th of July wearing a boot, a sleeve, or whatever, to me, it's a non-story unless it's the same when it comes to the first game they play and they're out doing warm-ups in that sleeve or that boot or whatever. Then I'm going to worry.
Yeah. It feels very weird to some extent because, like, I get why they're doing this, because obviously it's the middle of the summer, nothing's happening in football, and it's the quarterback of America's team, very clearly his day, having a boot. But I feel like we're giving more coverage to Prescott having a boot than we did to Tank Dell getting shot.
Right.
Like, I feel like we're making more of a concern over Prescott's boot than
someone nearly losing their life,
literally getting shot.
Yeah.
Which is just nuts to me. That's just the timing.
And the fact that Tank Dell was at minicamp and has said he's fine and ready for camp goes to show that, someone wearing a boot's no big deal.
Yeah, no, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
All right, on to your team. Shad Khan making comments this week about, hey, coaches, don't expect no money. Don't expect no money to hire talent because we don't have it. There seems to be a change in Shad's attitude this year. What's changed?
I mean, I think what's changed is that this offseason's been phenomenal for the most part. I mean, we locked up Trevor long-term. We locked up Josh Allen long-term, or what's his Joshua Hines Allen. He just changed his name today. Just changed his name today to I think Joshua Hines Allen. Joshua Hines Allen. That's his new name.
So Joshua Allen's what he's going to be called on screen. Gotcha.
Yeah, Joshua Hines Allen. Yeah, JJ. That'll take some getting used to. But we locked him up. We locked Trevor up. We got the stadium. We got that done. So we're locked in for the next 30 years. We got basically the new stadium. So I think there is a sense of urgency. I think there definitely is a sense of urgency now where it's like, okay, it's go time. And the thing I got with Shad Khan's comments, I don't think he put him on blast necessarily. I don't think he did. I think it's just being realistic. It's like, look, we got our franchise quarterback. We gave him a lot of money. We locked up Josh Allen. We gave him a lot of money. We don't have, like in previous off seasons, we've had tons of cap space because we didn't have a lot of talent and we let guys walk. And we didn't have guys that could get second contracts that we really needed to lock up. So we could spend money for agency and mess with problems.
You let someone walk right into Tennessee. I mean,
yeah,
didn't even bat an eye.
Yeah, it's like at this point, it's like we don't have the cap space. Like not that we're like trouble with cap. We're not like it's in a insane situation, but it's like we can't use the cap to mask our issues anymore. We can't like you have to develop players. I think that's what this came down to. And that was like one of my big criticisms from the coaching staff last year. I don't know who got better. There were not a lot of guys last year that I think got better on a year-to-year basis last year. And I think
that's what opened Shad's eyes, is that we weren't better, that we were still the same. We ended up being almost identical to the year before.
Yeah, I think it opened up Khan's eyes, but I think it was like, okay, we have the reality of the situation now is we had our window with the quarterback on a rookie contract. We don't really have that anymore. Now we have it for a bit because the rookie deal doesn't set in yet, or the new deal doesn't set in for another 2 more years because we got the 4th year and the 5th year option. But I think we're at the point where it's like, okay, Andre Sisco's contract's up. Tyson Campbell's contract's up. Cam Robinson's contract's up. Like, we need to develop the guys on our team right now. We don't have the money to just throw at people in free agency because ideally we want to bring back all these guys. We're probably not going to make any moves in free agency in 2025. So it's more the idea of coaching staff, you need to do your job. You need these players to develop. You need to be good because we don't have, like, if there's an issue, we're kind of stuck.
And it's also almost like telling the front office that you need to lock guys up with contracts quickly so that we can keep this core group and not have to worry about having to go spend a lot of money to replace these guys.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So other than that, what other NFL news have you seen that you want to talk about?
I feel like we have to just briefly touch on the tragedy that happened earlier this weekend with Kyrie Jackson. I mean, that was just heartbreaking. And he was not at fault. That's the sad part about it all. It's always sad when a 24-year-old loses his life that young, but he was not at fault. He was a passenger. It was a drunk driver that killed him. It just tragic, absolutely tragic.
Yeah, that news came out, and I was I saw the headline and didn't put two and two together until later on. But yeah, to just be basically a innocent person in the whole thing, that it sucks. It really does suck. I hope that his family's at peace with what happened, and things will get better for his family, and we have to recognize that crap happens to good people sometimes, and that you just don't know when it's gonna happen.
Yeah, happens way too much. It
does. And of course, we never want to end on downer news. So let's talk about music.
Yes.
What is the music of the month for you? What have you been listening to?
Honestly, I don't think pop music's been better than what it's been this summer in a long, long time. This has been the best summer for pop music in forever. Like the top 10 is just, I like everything. This is I don't know what it is this year, but this is the best year for pop music I can remember in a long, long time. The story of the summer has to be Sabrina Carpenter. That has to be the story. Her emergence, it was slow. It took a while, and then obviously the Taylor Swift opening tour, she opened for Taylor Swift, and that got her a lot of buzz. And then the nonsense outros got her some buzz, and now she's really picking up steam, and her music's just crushing it right now. Espresso's song of the summer for me, easily.
Yeah, the top 10 in on Billboard. So I like most of them. I'm not going to say I'm a fan of all of them, but they get the job done when you're just wanting to hear some music. For me, I've been listening to classic rock a lot this summer. I listened to a channel on SiriusXM called Rock Wall, and it's 4 decades of rock music. That's what I've been listening to. But even I switched back to classic rewind, Ozzy's Boneyard.
Billy Joel channel's back.
Yeah, Billy Joel channel.
It's never back this early. I don't know why
it's never in July. The summer.
It's always October and January.
January. Yeah, it's always, I can always count on it for October and then during the playoffs of football season.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's back is cool. Speaking of Billy Joel, we're going to talk about him in just a moment, but the music that is surprisingly getting good for me is country. Country seems to be kind of finding its new millennial footing finally 20 years in. And I think that we're getting some really good throwback music. Really those songs working with legends or about legends. But the 2 acts that are really killing it for me right now are Luke Combs and Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
Those 2 seem to be the I get where we're going attitude. And Cole Swindell's another one that is got that I know the attitude I need. I'm just not quite there yet. And his work with his work using Heads Carolina, Tails California in remaking that song really opened a lot of people's eyes how much he loves the 90s music, which you and I love.
Yeah, that worked. I think a lot of country before, like, it was trying to be pop music and it was just, we're just going to throw a guitar in there, but it's not really country. I think now we're starting to get like that distinct country sound, but we're getting like the mix that we needed. Like Luke Combs is like a perfect example of that for me.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like a pop song, but it's 100%. You cannot mistake for anything but authentic country.
I mean, One Too Many is kind of my go-to. I need an uplifting song. And it's like, at the end of it, he says, now that's a country song. And I'm like, yeah, that is a country song. And the fact that he got Brooks and Dunn to be on it with him, just even that much better.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not like looking forward to Twisters, but I do like 8-11 Oklahoma. I've been blasting that song.
Yeah. All right. So I said it before. Let's talk about Billy Joel. Billy Joel did some interviews over the past few months. This comes from Forbes magazine. Billy was asked if there's a new album coming or if Turn the Lights Back On is just going to be a standalone single. And he said, don't expect an album. He said one of the main reasons that he's resistant to recording a new album is because he doesn't feel album sales are as important anymore. Your thoughts on that? Are albums as important as singles right now?
I mean, I get it. The thing with albums, I think part of it is the way Billboard does it, where any song can chart. So you see these album bombs drop, and then they just fall off. I think there used to be a whole cycle. So I get where Billy Joel's coming from. There used to be a whole cycle where you release the lead single, maybe a second single, then you release the album. And then you release certain songs off the album. It's like a 2-year process. And now that's gone. For the most part, there are very few songs that are massive hits after the album drops. There are very few. So I completely get where he's coming from in that regard. And a lot of the time, I also get with Billy Joel that he likes playing for crowds. He likes playing for the masses and making
the individual songs more important to him right now.
Yeah, because the thing is that what's the worst thing an artist can say at a concert? That like
I have a new song to play.
Yeah, new song off the album. And I think Billy Joel's at that point where he doesn't like. It's like I told everything I need to. If I could find anything else, I'm going to. But I remember him saying when he did the interviews on Sirius XM that he wasn't the kind of guy that wrote 100 songs to pick the best 10. He was like, I'm going to write 10 songs and whatever happens, happens. So he was never that kind of guy.
He was always more of a concept album artist anyways. Like The Stranger, it had a theme. 52nd Street had a theme.
Yeah.
River of Dreams had a theme. Yeah. All his albums really had a single theme. And when you run them all together, you see that progression of his life really in music. And Turn the Lights Back On was just like, hey, I'm not done yet.
Yeah. So I think the part of the thing is that also when you listen to an album, back in the day, you listen on vinyl, you listen on CD player, you listen on something like that. So when you did that, you listen to the songs in chronological order. Now, very few people, like, you listen to the album one time through, and then you're usually not listening to it again in chronological order unless you really love it. You're usually just picking your favorites.
Yeah, LPs and cassettes were that way. I think we kind of got away from that when we hit CDs because you had that skip feature.
Yeah.
And then when we went digital music, digital download, you really saw core fans of an artist would download the entire album. But other than that, it was the hit. It was the singles that got downloaded.
Yeah, like even like I know Billy Joel said like the only person making new albums right now, one of them is Taylor Swift. Like I listened to TTPD all the way through, and then I picked my favorites.
Yeah,
and just went from there. How we listen to music has changed, so I get it.
Yeah, it's pretty sad when Taylor Swift can accidentally drop a 3-second white noise track on Apple Canada, on iTunes Canada, and it ends up number 3 in the sales charts because it's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, people pre-order it. Which that's another thing like I don't get. Like, why do people pre-order music anymore? I don't get like that's one thing that I will never understand. Like
unless you're pre-ordering an LP, a vinyl, why pre-order?
Right. Like unless it's something where you're pre-ordering a physical thing, or you pre-order you get a bonus song. Like, what is the point of pre-ordering music anymore?
Exactly.
There's no point. You get it at the same time as everyone else, and you and like if you don't like it, you're stuck with it essentially.
Right. He stated he literally asked the question to Variety magazine, who makes albums anymore?
Mm-hmm.
And then went on to say, I think the only person making new albums these days is Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who the second one is. Bruno Mars is another one I think of that actually works really good with making full albums.
Yeah.
But like you said, it just gets picked apart and everyone picks their favorite songs.
Right. But he only drops them like once every 5 years. Like
right.
He takes a long time.
Yeah. With that being said, and I think you might have already answered this a little bit. Does Billy look at this as I don't have a theme to go with this? There's no theme to make an album, or is this a case of I'm not in the record game anymore. I'm just going to throw singles out when I make them.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think it's more of I'm not going to force myself. Like I'm a storyteller. I write about my life, and I have nothing left to say. I said everything I needed to. And if I come up with something, I'll say it. But I really don't have.
Listen to the song "Famous Last Words." I mean, that tells you everything.
Yeah, it was like I got nothing. I got nothing. Yeah. I'm not gonna force myself to do it. Like I've got a good career as it is. I'm playing sold out nights at Madison Square Garden every month. I basically
played a sold out night in the Tokyo Dome.
Yep, I'm playing all the baseball stadiums in the world. Like I have nothing to say. I have no pressure to do it. Like I'm content with my life. I'm content with my life as it is. And if I I'm not going to force myself.
Yeah. So many of his songs, you could really use so many of his songs to tell the story of his life, which is what you really want from an artist. And I think that with Billy, it's like, hey, I'm in my 70s now, and music's not the same for me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, he literally, like the final song off the Bridge album in 86, Getting Closer, that literally is about, like, I'm getting closer and not having to do this anymore. It was
Right.
literally
I think River of Dreams really was that. I know it's time for me to step away.
Yeah.
I mean, Famous Last Words, which is the last single on that album, closes that album beautifully and perfectly. In what we went 20 years without a new single from him, and when he comes back, it's, hey, let's turn these lights back on and get back to business.
Yeah.
Speaking of new albums, Eminem pulled a prank on Detroit by publishing an obituary. The death of Slim Shady. Now, obviously, the obituary was a little tongue in cheek, but it was to announce that that's the name of his new album, The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace. We've already heard one song off this album, Houdini, which I think is just classic Slim Shady style artistry. What else of this album are you kind of looking forward to? Are you curious of it telling a whole story, or are you just wanting to hear an album cut of Houdini?
I just want to hear that flow. I just want to hear, like, the Eminem flow and the Slim Shady flow is very different. It's very different, and I like that comedic Slim Shady flow. And I want to hear a whole album kind of like that. I kind of want to hear a whole album like how he started out.
Yeah,
I think that's where he really shines. I'm excited. I'm excited for that album.
I mean, do you see? I mean, everyone that I've talked to said Houdini is a return to form of stuff like I'm the Real Slim Shady and those type songs. But I think it's more of a mix, really, of you're getting the Slim Shady stuff, but you're getting that Eminem stuff mashed together. And the fact that they used one of the best songs out there by the Steve Miller Band, Abracadabra, it's like, okay, I get where you're coming from. Now show me more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I'm really standing on the new album, is I want to see more.
Yeah, I want to see, basically for me, I want to see more of that. I think that's really the best way to say it. I want to see more of that fun rap music, more of that fun, like some of the lighten the mood, like some M music to lighten the mood.
Yeah. Some of that kind of D12 almost type music.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's really had three very different styles. He's had that the comedic Slim Shady, he's had his serious Eminem, and then he's had the D12. Is Houdini a mix of all of it?
I think to some extent, like it's got a message like Serious M. It's not like purely storytelling. Like it's got like a serious message, but it's got that high pitched flow, and it's got those comedic elements. Like there's some great one-liners and quips in there. And you still get that skill in terms of like how he's like enunciating the words on the beat and everything, and elongating rhyme structures and everything. Like I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
The fact that Dr. Dre is still producing his music, you know it's good. Dre doesn't put out duds for the most part. Eminem producing it as well. I mean, they've had such a history together. They've worked together so well. And if it wasn't for Dre, you wouldn't have Eminem. Is he kind of saying that from here on out, you're not going to get that fun comedic stuff from him anymore?
No, I don't think so. I don't think this like shock value or anything. I think because he could have retired the Slim Shady thing a long time ago, and he kind of has to some extent. Like this is like the first song that sounds like this. It's like 2004 almost.
Right.
So I feel like it's more of just a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. I don't think it's really that that's a Slim Shady.
Now reading up on this, it mentions an event you went to a few months ago.
Yes.
That during the NFL draft, he actually released a video kind of in unsolved mystery style. And have you seen that video? And if you have, your thoughts?
I did not see that video, but he was on stage at the draft with Roger Goodell. He got a huge ovation. People love him. Like
I was gonna say that city's, yeah, he's probably loved dearly in that city.
He is like what Prince is to Minneapolis. Like
Yeah.
he's
Billy
loved.
Joel in New York. I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. He really put that city back on the map musically when he really started to become big. So yeah, I can see that. What segment, what kind of stuff did he do on stage with Goodell?
Not really a whole lot. He just got on stage with Goodell and he just pumped up the crowd and was like, Detroit, where you at? Just stuff like that.
Gotcha.
He like spoke for
Hype
like
man.
yeah, like thanks for like you guys came out. Like he just spoke for like 45 seconds.
So as of recording this, we're recording this on the 9th of July. The song Toby was released on the 2nd. I have not heard this song yet. I will be going to listen to it. And if it's anything like Houdini, I think this is going to be a great album for him.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, as usual, we've come to the end of our time. We got to talk about everything that on the rundown, at least. You're flying back tonight to Arizona, Arizona. So no trivia tomorrow.
Nope.
Back to regularly scheduled programming on Friday for you.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm still putting out videos every single day. Like I got a video coming out tomorrow. Try to get 2 uploads every now and then. I might do some college football streaming of the video game.
The new video game.
I have to figure out like how to get that set up and everything, and figure out my schedule. Yeah, we'll make it work once I get the. I have to buy the console first because I don't have an extra console.
I'm hating that it's not on PC.
Yeah, I gotta.
If it was on PC, I would be sitting there. We'd be playing each other on stream or something.
Oh, it'd be so much fun. But I'm excited for that, and then obviously Olympic streams come up. It's gonna be a busy month once I get back, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun to get back to
the other than soccer, what are you looking forward to most in the Olympics?
Soccer's not even like my top 10. Like women's soccer is, but not the men. Like the men's, like the
well, yeah, because
like I only said
we have no chance in hell.
Yeah, I only said the soccer streams for that because that's like one of the only things that starts before the opening ceremonies. But the swimming events, like I love watching the swimming trials. Track is always beach volleyball. There's like I love the swimming stuff is my favorite. I love the swimming stuff. I was glued to the Olympic trials a month ago. So yeah, I'm excited for that. That'll be fun to call. Well, and basketball, of course.
Right. There's so much going on during the Olympics. It's hard to keep up with it. Obviously, check out JG9 News for Olympic content. Anything breaking in Olympics. Streams are on official JaguarGator9, and then obviously you have your college football and baseball channels, JaguarGator8 and 7. Thank you so much for being here yet again this month, and we will see you in August. If you want to catch me for more music and sports talk, it's Scorpion Tazz Media or Scorpion Tazz Gaming here on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitter, Scorpion Tazz, and I'm going to start trying to post more, as I know you are as well. But again, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you in August. Talk to you guys later.